if I did not.
The real reason Netflix's Sandman skipped a key comic arc. Netflix's The Sandman has been one of the most ambitious comic book adaptations in recent years. With its lush visuals, faithful recreations of iconic panels, and Tom Sturridge's commanding performance as Dream, the series brought Neil Gaiman's surreal universe to a whole new audience. But if you're a diehard fan of the comics, you probably noticed something missing in Season 2, A Game of You, one of the most beloved arcs from the original series. So what happened? Why did Netflix and showrunner Allan Heinberg choose to skip an entire storyline? Was it about budget, pacing, or was there something deeper going on behind the scenes? Let's unpack exactly why A Game of You got the axe, how it changes the structure of the show, and what it means for the future of The Sandman on Netflix. The unique structure of the Sandman comics. Neil Gaiman's original Sandman series broke the mold for what comic books could be. It wasn't just about superheroes or villains. It was a literary blend of horror, fantasy, mythology, and deeply human stories sometimes told through Dream's perspective, but often not. That rotating point of view was part of what made The Sandman so special. One issue might focus on Dream reclaiming a lost artifact. The next could follow an ordinary person who had a surreal encounter in their sleep. There were entire story arcs like A Game of You where Dream barely appeared at all. But that's where things get tricky when you're adapting this kind of narrative for TV.
It'll be interesting to find out why you've called us here. Perhaps for you more than any of us, my brother.
Netflix viewers wanted more Dream. According to showrunner Allan Heinberg, this storytelling flexibility didn't quite land with TV audiences the way it did on the page. Heinberg told Polygon that when Dream, or one of the major antagonists, was at the center of the action, audience engagement was high. But whenever the show shifted focus to a side character, like Rose Walker, viewers were confused or frustrated. They wanted more Morpheus. In the comics, Dream's presence is often felt even when he's off-page. But in a serialized show, people expect to follow a central character from episode to episode. That emotional through line is what helps keep viewers invested. And as much as The Sandman tried to be faithful to Gaiman's original structure, some narrative adjustments were inevitable. So when it came time to plan out Season 2, Netflix asked a tough question. What if they just skipped A Game of You entirely? Why cutting A Game of You made sense. Heinberg admitted that the decision to drop A Game of You wasn't taken lightly. He'd already outlined a full 3-episode arc for the story. Scripts were written. Scenes had been imagined. Thessaly, the ancient witch who plays a huge role in the comic arc, had been cast. The groundwork was there. But Netflix pushed back, asking whether A Game of You actually advanced Dream's arc in a meaningful way. And the answer? Not really. While A Game of You is a rich, layered story, especially in how it tackles themes of identity and the power of dreams, it doesn't directly impact Dream's larger journey. Heinberg realized that by removing it, he could streamline the season, keep the focus squarely on Morpheus, and potentially wrap up the entire series in just 2 seasons instead of 3. So, A Game of You was shelved, and the show pivoted toward a tighter, more dream-centric narrative, replacing Thessaly with Queen Nada. Now, Thessaly's absence left a gap, especially since, in the comics, she and Dream develop a significant romantic relationship. But rather than recasting a new love interest or forcing her into the narrative, Heinberg chose to explore another thread that already existed in Season 1, Queen Nada. Fans might remember Nada from her brief appearance in Hell, where she's revealed as a former lover of Dream's, one whom he punished for rejecting him. That scene carried emotional weight, but in the comics, Nada's story is just a flashback. The show, however, is expanding on it. By deepening Dream's connection to Nada and giving their story more screen time, Heinberg offers an emotionally resonant relationship that still ties into Dream's arc without needing to divert focus away from him, the way A Game of You would have. One director, one vision. Jamie Child's impact. Another major change in Season 2 that helped facilitate this shift was behind the camera. Unlike Season 1, which had multiple directors, every episode of Season 2 was directed by Jamie Childs. Heinberg believed that Childs, who previously directed standout episodes like 24/7, had a clear understanding of The Sandman's tone. And having one director helm the entire season meant a more cohesive visual and emotional language across all 12 episodes. It was a smart move, especially considering the logistical nightmare of filming during the 2023 WGA and SAG-AFTRA strikes. Production was shut down just 2 weeks after filming began, and the team had to shoot out of order to accommodate tight schedules and shifting availability. By sticking with a single director and a unified crew, the production was able to stay nimble and focused despite the chaos. What's replacing A Game of You in Season 2? So, if A Game of You is out, what exactly is in its place? The majority of Season 2 focuses on Season of Mists, the arc where Lucifer gives up hell and hands the keys over to Dream, triggering a cosmic bidding war for control over the realm. It's one of the most iconic storylines in the comics and features all the endless gods, demons, and more. This arc is foundational to Dream's character development. It explores his responsibilities, his guilt over past mistakes like Natada, and his relationships with his siblings, especially Desire and Delirium. And then there's the finale, a special 12th episode that adapts Death, the High Cost of Living. Kirby's Death gets her own spotlight. Kirby Howell-Baptiste's performance as Death was one of the standout moments of Season 1, so it's no surprise that she's getting a full episode focused entirely on her. Heinberg revealed that Neil Gaiman had long wanted to adapt Death, the High Cost of Living, as a standalone film, and even developed it with Guillermo del Toro at one point. But with the show already introducing Death and her dynamic with Dream, Netflix saw the opportunity to adapt it as a bonus chapter that would offer closure, warmth, and emotional depth at the end of a dark season. Thematically, it's a perfect way to close out Season 2 and potentially the series with a message about life, death, and humanity. Does this mean the show ends with Season 2? Technically, yes, at least according to Heinberg's current plan. With A Game of You removed and Season of Mists forming the core of Season 2, the entire arc of Dream's personal transformation can be completed within 11 episodes. The 12th, as we mentioned, will serve as a soft epilogue featuring Death. Of course, if the show is a massive success, Netflix could order more. There are still arcs left to explore: Brief Lives, World's End, The Kindly Ones, and The Wake. But for now, the creative team is treating the season as a full circle moment. Was skipping A Game of You the right call? That's still up for debate. On one hand, it's disappointing not to see Barbie's dream world, the twisted villain known as the Cuckoo, or the fully fleshed out Thessaly. A Game of You is a fan favorite for good reason. It's deeply personal and one of the most inclusive arcs of the original run. But on the other hand, from a storytelling perspective, focusing on Dream makes the show more accessible to newcomers. It keeps the stakes high and the emotional arc clear, and it allows the series to stay lean and emotionally resonant, which may be the smarter move in today's competitive streaming landscape. Final thoughts. Netflix's Sandman was always going to face tough choices. The comic is sprawling, poetic, and deeply unconventional. Adapting that to a TV format without losing the heart of the story is a monumental task. By cutting A Game of You, the show trades some of that experimental spirit for narrative clarity. Whether that pays off depends on how Season 2 is received and whether fans feel the emotional payoff is worth the structural sacrifice. But one thing's for sure, in the dreaming, nothing is ever truly lost. And maybe, just maybe, there's still a future where A Game of You gets its moment as a spin-off, a special, or something entirely new. Until then, the dreaming continues.